Can you talk about what the bucket strategy is and when we should start considering diversifying our retirement account to more than just target date funds?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. He's mixed up. There's a few things in there. It's pretty cool.
Those are two kind of questions. Let me talk about the bucket strategy, Brian. Then you can talk about when it makes sense to graduate from target dates. So when we talk about building towards financial independence, we like for you to do it in 3 distinct buckets. We want you to have your tax-deferred bucket. That's like your 401ks or your regular IRA rollovers. We like for you to have your tax-free bucket. That's your Roth IRAs and your HSAs and Roth 401ks. And then we want you to have your after-tax bucket. That's just like your regular brokerage account that has after-tax money, and then you pay taxes as the money grows and as you invest those dollars. Well, if you can build up these 3 distinct tax buckets, when you get to financial independence, you get to pick and choose where you pull your money from. So if you're in a high interest rate environment, you might pull up to a certain threshold from your pre-tax assets to trigger ordinary income. And then for the rest of your needs, you might pull from the Roth assets or from the after-tax assets, and you can literally manipulate the tax code to pay the tax that you want to pay. So we have a ton of clients who have large 7-figure portfolios that have 6-figure retirement needs and incomes, and yet they pay the lowest tax bracket. They might be paying the 12% or 22% federal tax brackets because they built up their 3 buckets. And that's how we actually built the financial order of operations. If you follow it through, you will likely build up those 3 buckets so that when you get to financial independence, you can pick and choose what taxes you pay. That's what we talk about when we talk about the bucket strategy. Now, the second part of the question that Sam had was, well, how do I know when to move away from target dates? Because the bucket strategy even plays into that a little bit in terms of not just...
Well, the way I'd phrase it, I would have flipped this question a little differently, because bucket straight, that is sexy stuff. I mean, if you think about that, you are sticking it to the man in a legal way to minimize your taxes. That sounds so good. And it's the same way the sexy sizzle is also in, hey, man, you realize that you can make so much money if you just invest in this one thing. And it can be crypto, it can be whatever the popular thing is of the moment. But the reality is in the beginning, your savings rate and the habit of actually starting to save and invest is more important than even where you put the money. You got to get the make wealth behaviors going and the habits going first before you get into maintaining and maximizing those things. So that's why we tell people, and people get upset about this. I'm like, no, you need to listen. Actually sit down, listen to kind of what we're sharing, because this will make a lot more sense. What I like about index target retirement funds is they, first of all, are taking advantage of index funds, which are low cost, they're super efficient, and they capture what's going on with this awesome economy that is innovating and growing just naturally upon itself. Instead of you trying to choose the winners, you just choose, yes, I want to be part of this excitement that's going on. The target retirement part of it is that it's helping you while you're young be super aggressive. And then as you get a little bit older and your risk profile is changing, it's getting more and more conservative. It's handling the asset allocation for you. So really, when you can marry those two together, it's really, you have to answer 2 questions. How much can I save, and when do I need the money? And then the rest, you don't have to get distracted. You don't have to focus or waste any mental horsepower on anything but how do I save more into my investments, and then get into the financial order of operations and getting to step 7, hyperaccumulation, which is where the bucket strategy really kind of comes into play. And that's kind of a great segue into taking on the rest of what Bo was talking about. I think that's when I think people kind of graduate out of index retirement funds, because now you have to start thinking about, hey, I have, a lot of bond funds that I don't like bonds. Even my mother-in-law, who's in her 80s, over Christmas break, was like, why do I have bonds? And I was like, oh my gosh, bonds are not bad. Let me show you what they've actually made you over the last few years. Just because you hear equity, and I love equities too.
And they've done really well over the past couple of months.
But I was like, you have to understand that everything has a place in your portfolio. And you're going to, when you get to a point where you're trying to maintain your wealth and even multiply your wealth, you will want to, because it's not just risk tolerance, it's risk capacity and the ability to recover if markets came down. You're going to appreciate that you have some conservative holdings, but you want to make sure you put those conservative holdings in the right bucket to maximize the tax planning as well. And that's why step 7 of the financial order of operations, all those things really kind of intersect nicely and will help you maximize your journey. But don't get the steps out of order. So many people are so drawn to the sexy sizzle that they skip steps and they don't even get the make wealth and then reach the maintain. They just skipped it. They're already jumping into the risk aversion side of things without actually doing the make wealth phase.
It's great.